Clashing blades, heightened skills, and battle-ready strategy that leaves readers on the edge of their seats is what makes a great fighter, whether the skill was miraculously given or earned through hard work. It's always enamoring to see swordmasters dish it out on the battlefield with no care for their surroundings. Here are some of the best and most iconic swordmasters in manhwa that readers may enjoy, not only for the level of their skills but the substance they bring to their respective stories. Number 8. Cheongmyeong, Return of the Blossoming Blade. The greatest wielder of the Plum Blossom Sword Strike. After reincarnating 100 years in the future, Cheongmyeong returns to Manhwa sect, only to find the place barely surviving. A former shell of what the glorious sect used to be, Cheongmyeong decides to restore its glory by training the current disciples and bringing back the very sword styles Manhwa was known for. Despite reincarnating into the body of a child, Cheongmyeong's abilities far surpass everyone around him, and his tenacity for growth rises at an exponential rate. He's trapped in a body that limits his physical prowess, but that does not stop him from pushing his limits and exercising the elegant sword strikes that have been ingrained into him. He's the #1 swordmaster in Return of the Blossoming Blade, and even though he can be a little rough around the edges, he carries skills that are 100 years too early for others to master. He's elegant, swift, and clean, making it quite captivating to see when he fights. Number 7. Duan Yuxian, Return of the War God. The violent warmonger turned family man. Once known as a violent war god, Duan Yuxian, who was sealed for 1,000 years, has now returned to a world far different from his past. When he comes across a dying little girl named Shamai, he decides to revive her out of pity, and she continues to follow him as repayment. Now that they've become a family together with Jang Santai and Quan Wujin, Duan Yuxian only hopes for peaceful times in this martial world. Not only does Duan Yuxian have skills that are imperceptible to the naked eye, but he's also a genius martial artist, with or without a weapon. However, he does primarily use a sword in battle, and he's the type of warrior who only unsheathes his sword when he gets serious. His duality is something that will easily catch readers' eyes in Return of the War God, since by day, he's a doting father to Shamai, and by night, he's the greatest protector of his new family. Number 6. Ronan and Schliefen, the Academy's genius swordsman. Two rivals fighting to become the greatest swordsman. The Academy's genius swordsman features two characters who can be considered swordmasters in this fantasy story, Ronan, the MC, and his rival, Schliefen Grantia. After Ronan travels back in time with the help of a Dishan, he finds himself 10 years in the past with only one goal in mind: become the greatest swordmaster ever and stop the apocalypse. Schliefen and Ronan are from completely different backgrounds, one being a noble blood and the other being a commoner, but the two of them share one thing in common, and that's their love for the sword. Ronan can be a little unhinged when he's fighting, but Schliefen, on the other hand, is more strategic. Their personalities are so different yet so alike, which makes their rivalry in swords and power all the more exciting to witness. Number 5. Jin Runcandel, the Swordmaster's son. A failure given a second chance to become a spell sword. Jin Runcandel was once destined to become the head of his clan, but despite all his hard work, he was banished and killed for his poor swordsmanship. Just before his death, the god of shadows, Soldaret, makes a deal with Jin and clears the curse on him that hindered his progress. With this, he was sent back to the day of his birth with another chance to become the greatest spellsword master ever lived. Although Jin is the swordmaster's son, his family is far from what one would expect it to be. It's a brutal battle to rise to the top, and his 13 older siblings will do whatever it takes to make sure he doesn't succeed. Despite this, Jin shows exceptional promise with the sword and magic, becoming the type of MC who will make his family and enemies suffer just to protect the ones he cares about. Number 4. Choi Han, Lout of the Count's family. The loyal dog of Kale Henitus. Choi Han was the original protagonist of the novel Kim Roksu. Now Kale Henitus reincarnates into, but is now a loyal follower of Kale in the current story. He doesn't have that big of a role, since Lout of the Count's family focuses on Kale's rise to power, but he does play a magnificent supporting role in the story. As Kale's loyal follower, he does anything for him, since Kale is the one who gave him the resolve to continue living. What's interesting about Choi Han as a character is that, though he looks extremely calm and peaceful on the outside, he's the most vicious. He was able to master the sword at a young age, and this, in turn, made him a hero of justice. He only ever fights against evil, and his entire persona often changes from lighthearted to cruel and cold. Choi Han's combat skills are unmissable, and always a rousing sight whenever Kale lets him lose on his enemies. Number 3. Hen Ryu, Latin Sega, Survival of a Sword King. The decades-old tutorial newbie that hide his true strength. Hen Ryu got the short end of the stick when he was transported to another world and trapped in the tutorial stage for 20 years. When he's finally released from this personal hell, he comes to find out that otherworlders like him are shunned and killed for their existence. He now has no choice but to hide his identity while trying to level up in this unfamiliar place. This proves to be a tricky feat. Despite being a low-level hunter on the outside, his skills have reached their maximum level after being trapped in the tutorial stage for over 2 decades. Hen is an exceptional warrior, as his power scaling is off the charts in Latin Sega, Survival of a Sword King. It's also quite amusing to see a buff guy with a soft personality try to pretend that he's not the enemy his friends are afraid of. Number 2. Knox von Leinhuber, Time-Limited Genius Dark Knight. The terminally ill villain who wants to live. After falling terminally ill and being doomed to die within a year, Chan Yu decides to spend his last days playing in his favorite RPG world, but he dies that very same night and wakes up as Knox, a villain in the game whose constitution is just as bad. Except Chan is desperate to live his life out as Knox and change the final ending, where he gets executed. Although Knox comes from a renowned noble family, he's the black sheep due to his frail body and curses inhabiting him. But now, with knowledge from his previous life, Knox climbs the ranks and uses his curses to grant him new skills. Whether it be resistance to poison or obtaining dark magic, he's also managed to become a genius swordsman in Time-Limited Genius Dark Knight. His abilities grow with each chapter and Knox knows how to enact his revenge perfectly. Number 1. Yavier Asrahan, the greatest real estate developer. The righteous swordsman of the genius engineer. As Lloyd Frontera's personal guard and knight in the greatest real estate developer, Yavier Asrahan is also a genius swordsman for the family. After Kim Soo is reincarnated as Lloyd, their relationship significantly changes as well. Yavier, who was known to show adamant disdain for the original Lloyd, slowly began to see him in a new light. Yavier can be considered a true knight in this sense, due to his righteous nature and personal morals. Though he looks calm on the outside, he's known to be openly expressive around those close to him, especially when it comes to playfully mocking Lloyd. It's especially exciting to see him in action, as Yavier's combat skills in the story keep expanding along with his abilities, mana, and aura control. He's always a fan favorite among readers, and is sure to keep everyone on the edge of their seats whenever he unsheathes his sword. This is the end of this video. Hope you liked this video. Please like the video and subscribe our channel for more interesting videos like this.